Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I can get all of council to come on screen. And I would note that Councillor Porter has given her regrets for this evening's meeting. With that, and I'm assuming Councillor Parks, there she is. Welcome, everyone. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the audience, to this, the 46th session of council on this Monday, April the 26th, 2021. This is a virtual meeting, and as usual, the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, the Township's Council's Rules of Procedure, Code of Conduct, and other pertinent legislation apply to these proceedings as if it were an in-person meeting. If any member's connection to the meeting is interrupted, then I will ask council to pause for a moment until the member can reconnect. If the member cannot reconnect within 5 minutes, we will resume the meeting, assuming that we still have quorum for the meeting. Okay, so I thank you very much for joining us, and the official call to order will be at 7:01. There was no closed session this evening, so we can move to open forum. As there's no one currently on the open forum list, to the clerk, is there anyone who applied for delegation in the open forum?
No, your worship.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to join for the open forum today? And I'll take a hand from the attendees if they wish to join. I'm seeing none. At this time, we'll move into a public meeting. Public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of sections 3412 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to consider an amendment to the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2001-38 as amended. The proposed amendment applies to lots 30 and 31, concession 4, and more particularly, phase 3 of the Babcock Mills subdivision in the village of Odessa. The proposed amendment to the Loyalist Township zoning bylaw 2001-38 as amended, if approved, is to reduce the frontage requirements of 21 semi-detached dwelling houses from 15.5 to 15.2 meters in phase 3 of the Babcock Mills subdivision. Council shall hear in person or by his or her counsel, solicitor, or agent any person who claims to be affected by this application. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this application? I'm hearing none. I'm seeing none. Okay. Is there anything from staff wishing to present on this topic?
No, your worship. We were there to support if there were any questions from the public.
Thank you. And council, do you have any questions with regard to this? I'm seeing none. With that, we do have a report and a recommendation. Let me just magnify my recommendation. Okay. We have a recommendation before us. Council, what do you wish to do with this recommendation? I'll go to the deputy mayor.
Move to receive and adopt the recommendation.
Move to receive and adopt. Do I have a seconder? And I'll take Councillor Buderick. Thank you. Any comments from the mover?
No, not at this time.
Seconder? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We now move to the agenda. We have the agenda before us. From staff, are there any edits or amendments to the agenda? Anything from council? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please? I'll take Councillor Townend, seconded by Councillor Parks. Right. Any comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? I'll go to the deputy.
Yes, I'd like to declare a potential pecuniary interest in item 21.3 from the Township of the Archipelago. It's road management action on invasive Phragmites. And I'm declaring it because I'm employed by the ministry that's being appealed to for action, and I have knowledge of the project.
Thank you. Are there any other declarations? Seeing none, we'll move forward to the minutes. Item 7.1 is the confirmation of the minutes and the recommendations from the April 6th Committee of the Whole meeting. Okay. Council, what would you like to do with those minutes? Do I have a mover? Deputy, go ahead. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Buderick. Mover comment? Seconder comment? Anyone else have comment on this? Councillor Parks, go ahead.
Just a quick clarification on the last resolution that was put forward. Sorry, I typed over top of it and I don't have the number. I guess it's 2021.36.
Yes.
That the report be received and that the completed policy come back to the Committee of the Whole. Should that have not been the draft policy come back?
I think the wording of the motion at the time was that the completed policy with some edits based on the comments, but it would be draft automatically because it's always draft until council gets approves it.
That's a clarification I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that, are there any other comments or questions with regard to the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, April 6th? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Next, we go to 7.2, confirmation of the minutes of the 45th session of regular council, April the 12th. We have the minutes before us, and sorry, I should have asked this previously. Are there any edits, amendments, or omissions in the minutes? None noted. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes then? Councillor Parks, so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gordon, thank you. All right, any comment? And I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. I don't believe there are any delegations or presentations this evening. No unfinished business, nothing from the CAO. So we move to item 11.1, the Asset Management Program update. We have a report before us. Okay. Mr. Dickey, do you have anything to add to this report at this time?
Good evening. Nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions with regard to the Asset Management Program update? Seeing none. All right. Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, sorry, do I have a motion? And Councillor Buderick, move to receive and adopt the recommendation. Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Parks, thank you. All right. Mover, any comment? Seconder, any comment? Anyone else have comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is carried. Thank you. We move to item 11.2, the 2021 tax rates bylaw levy bylaw. Right. Mr. Dickey, this is yours as well. Do you have anything to add to this report at this time?
Just quick through you, Mr. Mayor. If you look at the fine print in the schedule to the bylaw, the actual taxes raised for Loyalist, you see there is a small difference, about $600 difference for what our budget requires. So as in the motion the council passed, there is a little bit of leeway there because sometimes tax ratios can change and other things can change by the time we do the final tax calculations. So in this case, when we went to do the final calculations, there were a couple of new classes this year, new property classes. But fortunately, the way the motion's worded, the council's passed, 600 and some odd dollars will bring from the working fund to balance the required levy for township purposes this year. So just if someone looked at the schedule to the bylaw, noticed it was slightly off from our approved operating budget. That's why. And the motions do allow us just to top that up as needed.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions for the treasurer, the director of financial services at this time? None? Actually, I have one. I noticed in the, sorry, I'm looking at the title of this, Schedule A to the bylaw. Okay. Forgive me, but I think this is a bit of a typo. We've got total levy. So, under the property classes, subject levy. But on the gray line, if you will, if you can see the report I'm speaking to, that would be the total assessment, not the total levy, correct? I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Mr. Dickey. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. So on the schedule to the bylaw with all the Schedule A, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, okay, so I've got it in front of me. So it's got property taxes down the left. So which column are you referring to, or which title?
It's just a clarification of a title on a line. At the bottom of the first section, there's a gray line that says subtotal levy. And that is the subtotal of the assessment that is subject to the levy. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because that number is significantly different than our actual tax levy. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions with regard to this report? Seeing none, can I get a motion from council, please? Deputy, go ahead.
I'd move to receive and adopt the recommendation.
So moved. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Townend, thank you. Deputy, any comment? Seconder, any comment? Anyone else have comment? Seeing none, I will take this opportunity to say thank you to Mr. Dickey, to Mr. Renier, and the entire staff for working very hard on the budget and the generation of this document this year. You've done an excellent job, and we'll note to the audience that this does come in at an overall 2.5% tax levy increase. Okay. With that, any final comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We move to 11.3, the waiver of the sharing center rent during the pandemic lockdowns. We have a report before us. Mr. Dickey, do you have anything to add to this report at this time?
Nothing to add at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions with regards to this? I see none. Can I get a motion, please? Councillor Townend, seconded by Councillor Buderick. Thank you. Councillor Townend, any comment? Councillor Buderick? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Dickey. We move to Community and Customer Services Department, item 12.1. We have a report for us with regard to the Enbridge Gas Franchise Agreement renewal. And we have the Director McFarland here to offer comment. Do you have anything to add before we get into this, Director?
Nothing further, Your Worship.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions with regards to this? I see none. I would look for a motion. Councillor Parks, so moved. Second by Deputy Mayor. Councillor Parks, any comment? Deputy? Any comment? No? Anyone else? And seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We move to the Economic Growth and Community Development Services Department. Item 14.1 is the I always forget the name of the GAC granular. I'm sure the director will correct me. The replacement project and the budget transfer. Director Merritt, do you have anything to add to this report at this time?
Nothing, Your Worship. Granular activated carbon.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions with regard to it? I'm seeing nothing. Do I have a mover? I'll take Councillor Townend. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Buderick, thank you. Councillor Townend, any comment? Councillor Buderick, any comment? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. We move to 14.2, phytoremediation of soil of salt impacted soils. Another mouthful. To the director, do you have anything to add to the report at this time?
Nothing to add at this time, Your Worship.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions with regard to the report? Seeing none, the recommendation is to be received for information. Do I have a motion? I'll go with Councillor Buderick, seconded by Councillor Parks. Any comments? Councillor Parks, go ahead.
I'd just like to note that I would be interested in learning more about this as it comes out, and I'm encouraged by it.
And absolutely, it's a good thing. Any other comments? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. I kind of echo Councillor Parks, where this is a really intriguing, from what I know of it, it's got real potential and could be a game changer in a lot of areas, not just the road authorities, but any industry that has cleanup and remedial action to do. And it could change the way it's all done and also have a great impact on our greenhouse gas emissions with transportation and disposal of contaminated material if it can be reused, especially if it can be reused in place. So I'm really excited to see this start. I'd like to see this get going right away if I could, but I'm glad that staff are taking the initiative and really looking for any option out there to be able to investigate for this type of thing. So kudos to staff.
Excellent, thank you. Can I suggest that council also requests that we get an update when appropriate as to how this is proceeding? And thank you. Any other comments or questions with regards to this? Seeing none, I believe I've already got a mover and seconder, so I will call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving forward to item 16.1. We have communication for consideration from Ms. Barrett. Okay. Councillor Townend, go ahead.
Point of order, Your Worship. We haven't done 14.3 yet.
My apologies. Thank you for the clarity. We'll go back to 14.3. That's right. The Amherst West Secondary Plan Public Engagement Strategy. All right. Thank you. Director, do you have anything to add to this at this time?
Yes, Your Worship. Actually, I'm going to ask our clerk to bring in Mr. Winnicky, the Manager of Development Services. We just would like to provide a really quick highlight. We also have Ms. DeSanti from the consultant. If there are any questions from council, they will be there to answer. But Mr. Winnicky wanted to provide a really, really quick update.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Winnicky.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. Good evening, members of council. I don't have anything specific to add. The report is pretty comprehensive and I think covers all the bases for you. I just wanted to highlight that this strategy has been prepared assuming pandemic restrictions will continue. There's lots of emphasis on virtual engagement, which has, as we've learned, generated surprisingly good results in other municipalities of late. So we're counting on that same kind of result here as well. And as was mentioned earlier, Nadia DeSanti is here from WSP and we're both available to answer any questions that council has.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions with regard to this report? Looks like we have a schedule of how this will proceed. I'm seeing no questions. I thank the director and Mr. Winnicky for those additions. Can I get a motion, please? Councillor Townend, move the recommendation. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? I'll take the deputy. Thank you. Mover, any comment? Seconder? Anyone else have comment? And we look forward to see this public communications process roll out. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Now we can go to communications for consideration. And we'll start with 16.1, a letter from Mrs. Barrett. And Council, what would you like to do with this? I'll go to Councillor Townend.
I move to receive.
Motion to receive. Do I have a seconder? Deputy, thank you. Mover, any comment? Seconder, any comment?
Just that, just confirming, when we receive it, it's going to be we would be able to use it for consideration on May 3rd, I believe it is, at the Committee of the Whole.
And clarified through the clerk, the letter would be forwarded into that Committee of the Whole meeting?
Your worship, the letters are on this agenda, so council can consider it during that Committee of the Whole. It won't form part of the agenda as it's part of this agenda, but it can be discussed then.
Thank you. Nothing else.
Okay. Anyone else have comment? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Second item is 16.2 from Bon Evans regarding traffic in Bath on Academy Street.
Your worship?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want one statement as well for 16, well, just in regards to the vibrancy. There's been a number of correspondence that's been coming in. It'll be on the next council agenda. But council, I believe, has been copied on all of them. So that would be as well can be considered for the May 3rd COW.
Thank you for that clarification. And I'm assuming all of council has received, and in fact, I've seen the emails, has received a number of letters regarding that. And then we can move to 16.2. Right. Council, what would you like to do with the letter from Bon Evans? Deputy, go ahead.
Move to receive and request a staff report.
Move to receive and request a staff report. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Parks, thank you. Deputy, any comment?
Just when there was a delegation, it was extremely brief, and I thought it was only one issue. There's actually several here. Covers different. It has a potential to cover different departments. So a staff report would give us a little more background, so that for council's consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Parks, any comment?
Yeah, there are some valid points in this correspondence. There are some things that, just based on some of the feedback that I've been receiving, may not warrant checking into, but again, we can't pick and choose. So we'll just go ahead with the staff report.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Are there any notices of motion or direct motion for this evening? Seeing none. Last chance. Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. For the purposes of convenience and for expediting meetings, matters of business that are repetitive of nature or repetitive or routine in nature are included in the consent agenda, and all such matters of business contained in the consent agenda are voted on collectively. Any particular matter of business may be singled out from the consent agenda for debate or for separate vote upon the request of any member of council. In the case of a separate vote, the excluded matter of business is severed from the consent agenda. Each and every matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting. And I would note that Deputy Mayor has already declared a conflict with regard to item 21.3. Okay. Is there anything that any member wishes to separate from the consent agenda at this time? I'll start with Councillor Townend.
Separate 21.3.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we would like to separate? Seeing none, we'll consider 21.3 separated, and I will ask for a motion on the consent agenda without that item. Councillor Townend, so moved. Councillor Buderick, second. And any comments on any of them? And I'm seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Then we move to 21.3. And again, Deputy Mayor has declared a conflict. And do we have anyone wishing to make a motion with regards to this item? Councillor Townend, go ahead.
Motion to receive for information.
Motion to receive for information. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Buderick, thank you. Are there any comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. There's no communication for information. Members' privilege. Is there anything under members' privilege that any member of council wishes to bring forward tonight? Councillor Parks, go ahead.
Thank you. I have just two quick things. Two heritage recognitions, I guess, that were received by different properties in the village. One is the old Ham House, or the Ham House, I guess it's known as. Ron Tasker and Bonnie Crook were awarded with the Lieutenant Governor's Excellence in Conservation. It's a Heritage Award. And Gus and
Panagiotopoulos.
Thank you. Was also awarded a certificate of commendation from the Frontenac Heritage Foundation for conservation work at the Peter Davey House located at 370 Academy Street in Bath. So I just wanted to recognize both of those for the work that they've been doing on the preservation and heritage in the community.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Is there anything else under members' privilege from anyone? No? Quiet night. All right. And we'll move on to item 25, upcoming meeting dates. We are scheduled for May the 3rd to have a committee of adjustment meeting as well as a committee of the whole meeting that evening. And then our regular meetings on May the 10th and May the 25th for council. Is there anything to adjust that schedule? No? Then that will be our schedule. We come to the confirmatory bylaw. Quick meeting. Can I have a motion for the confirmatory bylaw, please? I'll take Councillor Parks, seconded by Councillor Gordon. Okay. Any comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And a motion for adjournment. Deputy, seconded by Councillor Townend. Okay. Call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? And motion is carried. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We are adjourned for the evening.
Good night.
Great night.